So a clip has surfaced of a landlord complaining how tough it is for her. Take a look.
I just feel like I have to say that being a landlord in London is a horrible, horrible job, and it's so thankless. I'm a good landlord. I'm a landlord for one property, and my tenant just moved out after living there for 3 years. I gave her a perfect, beautiful, freshly painted, everything in it property. I come back after she's moved out. My furniture is missing. She spray painted in gold my fireplace, pieces of my furniture. Didn't even bother to put newspaper on the carpet. It's all splotches. And everyone's talking about like London tenants, yeah? And like, oh, poor them. You know, what about poor me? Poor landlord. I have one property. You know, people think, oh, landlords are like, they're fine. You know, we're like Bernie Madoff or something, sitting at home counting stacks of cash, you know? Actually, that rent I'm making, it's like half of it goes to all the payments you have to make, you know, and all the things you have to do just to please tenants. And then we just get treated so bad. I just don't get it. Like, what's the deal?
Oh, poor landlord. Why wouldn't someone think of me? It just breaks my heart that no one is thinking about these oppressed peoples. I'm appealing to anyone watching if they would help me set up a campaign to protect and support vulnerable landlords in this incredibly trying time. So where do I start? Okay, first of all, being a landlord is not a job. Sitting on your ass and getting other people to pay for your house is not a job description. They do not contribute to society. It doesn't benefit society as a whole. So I'd love to know how difficult it is for this woman. Apart from an untidy room she complains about, it doesn't seem all that hard. Now, according to her, it is a thankless job. You should be thanking your tenants. They are paying for your house. There's no such thing as a good landlord. It's not about personally calling people out. It's just that they have a net negative on society. You can be the best person in the world, but you can't be a good landlord. That definition doesn't exist. It cannot exist. People are getting thrown out of their homes because they can't afford rent, especially in London, where the cost of rent is astronomical. So no one is given a toss about how landlords feel. Now, there's no scenario where the tenants have more power than a landlord. There are rights that have been won to protect tenants, but it doesn't go far enough. Any increases in costs, I don't know, like the energy crisis, the landlord, they have the power to push that cost onto the renters. I'll be completely honest here, and it's factually correct that landlords are literally leeches on society. They prey on people who need a roof over their head for profit. They don't provide houses. They don't offer a service. The actual provider of housing is the government. Now, council houses are a wonderful thing. Then Margaret Thatcher came along with her disastrous right to buy, turning affordable housing into a profit-making machine. The mere existence of landlords is creating a housing crisis. Landlords benefit from scarce, cheap houses. If houses were easy to get and were cheap enough to buy, no one would rent. And this also massively contributes to homelessness. So cheap housing, less people on the streets, less people being forced to stay with their parents equals less private landlords. Now, those payments the woman mentioned that take up half her profits, bear in mind she still has a profit afterwards, are what keeps the properties habitable. The bar is so low that we don't even have legislation to ensure it's fit for human purpose. Back in 2016, the Tories voted it down, which interestingly, 72 of them at the time, who were able to vote, were also landlords. So I'd like to know examples of where landlords get treated so terribly. Please, just give me one example. Now compare that to the countless horror stories tenants face on a daily basis. Landlord increased rent by 143% after kicking 7 friends out of a 6-bed home. Another example, letting agent refused to fix a dip in the ceiling for months and ignored our calls until the whole thing caved in just before Christmas and almost killed us. We subsequently lost access to the living room and kitchen for 10 weeks apart, but still had to pay full rent. And here is another one on Twitter. Claire has had to live with mould harming the health of her and her young son. This is what the council's environmental health officer found: a mushroom in her living room. And now you can see the picture with it. It's absolutely vile and disgusting. So after years and years of renting, tenants won't have anything to show for it. But landlords, well, after your mortgage has been paid for you, then you are literally living on free capital. Now, landlords have the option down the line to sell the property for a huge profit because housing is getting more expensive and the value will increase. But things have gotten so bad that even finding a place to rent is even harder. We have a situation where there's an abundance of people looking to rent whilst there's not being enough houses. Now, obviously, this has been driving up the cost of rent, where we're in a situation in modern Britain where people are bidding to secure a tenancy. Now, this is from The Guardian. Beth Holloway seems like the ideal tenant. The civil servant, 23, has a stable job, good references and earns a decent salary, and she doesn't smoke or have pets. Factors that are often a disadvantage in a fiercely competitive market. But after 3 months of flat hunting in London, involving hundreds of inquiries to agencies, 24 viewings and 10 offers on properties, she says she cannot take it anymore. Each time she and the friends she had planned to live with put in an offer on a property, they were outbid by someone else. Quote, "We've offered £200 over the listed price and not got it because someone else offered 6 months up front. I've heard people offering £500 or £600 over or offering to pay a year up front in cash." We continue in the article. A survey by Property Mark, a membership organisation for estate agents, found that letting agents received an average of 127 new applications per branch in July, but had only 11 properties available to rent. A record 82% reported month-on-month increases in rates. People get into property to make money. It's an investment. They're not altruistic. Landlords also screw over small businesses, those that want to start up or have a family-run business. They have to cough up a lot of money to those that own their building. But if it's just that tough, then just stop being one. No one is forcing you to do it. On the other hand, people are forced to rent. There is literally no reason why we shouldn't ban private landlords.